you have any cell phones or electronic devices, please mute them or turn them off. We'll have the invocation, and Ms. Joe Beck, the cloud, will give the invocation. Everybody please stand, remove your caps.
Good evening. My name is JoBeth McLeod. I'm the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church here in Alpine and president of the Ministerial Alliance. Would you please join me in prayer? Our gracious Heavenly Father, long ago, you taught your people to seek the welfare of the place where they were. Therefore, we commend our neighborhoods, our wards, our town, our county, our state, and our nation to your care. Protect us from social strife and economic decay. Give us strength of purpose and concern for other people so we can create a community of justice and peace, a place where your will may be done. Help us to be good stewards of all the resources you have placed in our care. Guide our citizens of various backgrounds and talents to work together with our public officials to create opportunities which will be available to everyone. As we face the challenges and the choices that come before us, make us diligent and responsible city council members, city staff members, and citizens who together demonstrate what it means to be a living, breathing example of cooperative effort. Empower us with a vision and a hope for the future that begins with the small steps we take here tonight. We pray all these things in the name each of us holds most dear, which for me is the name Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you. We are missing one council person, and she sent an email. So if we do have a board, we'll continue with the meeting.
Meeting notice was posted at 2:25 p.m. on July 29, 2016.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Now, the first thing on the agenda is we're going to make a presentation. And this presentation is to a good friend of mine and a great volunteer of the city. Mr. Sammy Villarreal, if you'll step forward. And I'm going to read the proclamation. Certification of appreciation to Sammy Villarreal for his dedication and effort supporting our youth who attend Boy State, which is sponsored annually by the American Legion. Now, Sammy is, he works for Big Band. It's pretty busy most of the time, but he finds somehow to get the time to spend the weekend taking the kids out of the city so they can attend this state youth conference. So he's done this twice already. So I thought it would be appropriate to recognize him, and the city council as a whole appreciates what his efforts in helping our youth today. Sammy, congratulations. Thank you, sir. It's not often, we have several folks that do volunteer, but we'd like to show our appreciation to the ones that get out there and work with the youth. They're going to be the leaders of tomorrow, so we have to show the example of how it's done. So with that, I appreciate anybody else that does the same thing. Okay, reports. How about that rain? I think everybody appreciated that. We had a very, very good Big Bend fiesta. I talked to several of the local business persons, and they were saying it's the best they've ever had. Very little incident, so it's attributed to the folks of Alpine and our visitors. But it was great, and time to move on to the next one, which is next year. It'll probably be better. The talking will be bigger and better. So, also, the last month and a half or so, we've been having a series of break-ins. So I'm just making the public aware that you should keep an eye, not only your surroundings, but also your neighbor's home and vice versa. Let them know to kind of keep like a neighborhood watch. And let's try to, catch the culprits that are doing this. The last ones were the Chamber of Commerce, which was Sunday night, stole over $2,000. And these are monies that they, which they were selling tickets to raise money. So that's all gone. And so now they have to redo tickets, and they're going to be taking a big loss on this. So, let's all be vigilant about this. And if you see any suspicious activity, call the police, and let's take care of it before it gets out of hand. Thank you. Now with the city manager report, Mr. Zimmer.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Got a few items to review this evening. You know it. There we go. All right. Right now, the city's working through two different enforcement order issues with DCEQ, both related to our wastewater treatment plant. The first order, docket number 2014-0519, is really the larger order dating back to violations in 2012. The real key task related to this enforcement order was the dewatering box procurement, sludge bank dewatering box procurement, a walkway for an additional aerator, and then the biggest task is really the removal of sludge from the oxidation ditch 1, which is the original oxidation ditch out of the wastewater treatment plant, and also the removal of sludge from the retention ponds. This enforcement order did go into effect July 6th of this year. Was signed off by the TCQ board. The removal of sludge from the oxidation ditch and the retention pond is really kind of long haul attempt for us. It's going to take us better part of another year, though the enforcement order gives us 2 years to remediate that. All of these key tasks are underway or completed. The sludge main procurement, for example, is already completed as a task. We do meet regularly, Megan, myself, U.S. Water, Marsh and Hayes, because there are certain submission timelines, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then every 180 days afterwards. So from a formalization standpoint, we sent in a letter this last week. We keep a copy of those types of items here with our city secretary. The one piece I'm going to talk about it in relation to the second enforcement order, we're looking at a possible modification in this second enforcement order, which is really tied to a biochemical oxygen demand violation. So basically the output, what we were producing, was not within the standards on TCQ for 2 successive months. Initial fine there, $3,300. We had initially looked at proposing a mechanized bar screen that goes to help us with the raw wastewater as it's coming into the plant. This was something that when Virgil Clark was the interim utilities director and Lawrence Petroni, who was our utilities director for about 1.5 years, both thought would help improvement of the plant. Working with U.S. Water, what we're starting to understand is that we have a far deeper sludge issue at the wastewater treatment plant than I initially was aware of. We've received some quotes over the last couple of weeks on basically taking 80 or 800,000 gallons of sludge water between the existing oxidation ditch and our clarifier and dewatering that, which creates then a sludge, fills approximately 67 roll-offs. It takes our sludge blankets in the wastewater treatment plant, reduces them by roughly 70%. This in itself, and I hope I'm not boring anybody, but the wastewater is an important part of this community, how we handle it. And if we can actually reduce the sludge, then it will allow, significantly reduce the sludge within the system. It will allow us to have the plant operate more effectively as it was originally designed. Certainly, we brought into the sludge main boxes. They're very helpful. We've uncovered a few of the drying beds that were covered up. The challenge that we're having with those drying beds is originally designed, it's 2 to 3 days for wastewater to dry, or the sludge to dry. It's taking the better part of 7 to 10 days because of some of the arbitraging of those basically beds when they were filled in. So we believe that the reduction of the 800,000 gallons will give us a step up, allow us to then use the facility as designed. So I have reached back out to TCQ, asked them to do a drop and add. What we're looking at on the dewatering cost is somewhere in the $55,000 to $65,000 range, which is similar to the marsh screen cost. Really working on that right now. Also working with Texas Disposal Systems on an accelerated pickup of the sludge, because we've got basically 120 equivalent roll-offs of sludge out there in the old oxidation ditch. Add another 67 roll-offs. If they can do one a day, I'm at basically half a year to get this stuff out. So that's kind of the timing. I'll continue every quarter and give updates on this to council, and then certainly post it on the website. But it is front and center for us from a staff perspective. Moving forward, community development grant. The next funding cycle application process came out for the last couple of weeks. Although the applications are due till February 7th, 2017, we're trying to get a leg up on it. I like the scoring criteria this year. Single jurisdiction applications. It's not spreading the money out against everybody. We did not take any money in the last cycle, so we're automatically going to get 40 points out of the 180. First priority activities: water, wastewater, septic tanks, yard lines, etc. Second priority activities are fire and EMS. What we're contemplating is a water line extension and placement of new fire hydrants, which would put us in those first priority activities, really looking at the southern part of the city, along Geigo, in that area where we have extended reach between fire hydrants. So I feel pretty positive that we should be able to get this funded. It's not a matching type thing, so up to 275 would be, no money match required for the city. So certainly it won't be awarded until May of next year, but if we get in front of it, we have a good design, a good write-up, a good application. We believe that this could tie in and be one that gets approved. And then rounding out city manager report tonight. Here's our stats on the bulky item pickup results. We were just short of 20 tons, 39,900 pounds. Breakdowns there. The C&D is construction and demolition, debris, and then metal and brush. If I look back historically on the bulky item pickup, we're usually somewhere between 35 and 45 tons. And so we fell right within that realm. got it done within 3 days, July 11th, 12th, 13th. So very positive we are. Keeping up now with our shredding and our glass crushing at the recycle plant. This Saturday, there's going to be a trash and treasure hunt. Starts at Arbolitos Park. Got a little blog out on the website this morning. The cool thing is there's some prizes, Yeti cooler bag. The grand prize will be tickets to a sporting event like the San Antonio Spurs or a Texas Ranger baseball game. I asked him if tickets to the Masters were part of that. I think, whoever gets that grand prize, and I don't know if it's just Alpine centric or if they're spreading it out across the multiple communities. On the blog, there's a link to the Keep Texas Beautiful website that outlines the program as a whole. They're working with TxDOT in conjunction. So it's a great opportunity. We're going to start at Arbolitos Park. Some are going to go west, some are going to go east. Just picking up trash. Keep it Alpine beautiful.
There's been quite a bit of improvement as far as the trash pickup and folks taking care of their yards and whatnot. The last couple of 3 months, I've seen a big difference. I drive around quite a bit through town, and I've seen that a lot of trash being picked up and put away in the dumpsters. It's now rare that I see trash on the street side or on the curb and whatnot. But I want to thank the folks of Alpine for doing that. It's a great effort, keeping this town clean. You set the example. This is a tourist town, so we have to put our best foot forward. So with that, I thank the citizens of Alpine. Now, city staff updates. Do we have them there?
Through the city manager.
Okay. And public hearings?
Public hearings.
Okay. Now we're on the consent agenda, minutes, financial reports, department review reports, board appointments, etc. Notice to the public, the following items are of a routine and administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background and supporting material for each item, and/or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All the items will be acted upon by one vote without discussion, separately unless requested by a city council member, in which event the item or items will be immediately withdrawn for individual consideration. It's a normal sequence. After the items not requiring separate discussion have been acted upon, the remaining items will be adopted by a one vote group. So I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we accept the approval of the council minutes as
Is there a second? Thank you. Motion's been made, it's been seconded, and all those in favor of approving the council minutes, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you all very much. Now, presentation by Family Crisis Center, the Children's Advocacy Library and Food Pantry related to city needed support and annually. So,
Honorable Mayor, City Council, at our budget workshop earlier this month, one of the things we talked about was having Families Crisis Center, Children's Advocacy group, our library, food pantry, come really talk to the city about the impact of their programs in the community. These are all programs that the city either funds annually through their general fund budget or contemplates funding. And so I know we have representatives. I think we can just go through the sequence here. Certainly not, they don't have to be long presentations, but Webby is here for the Family Crisis Center. She'll start us off.
Good evening.
Hi,
Thank
good
you
evening.
for having us. Appreciate it. I think most of you know who we are and what we do, but just in case we have some that do not. The Family Crisis Center, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Webby Carvajal. I'm the business administrator for the Family Crisis Center. We have our executive director, Sarah Strapoli, and our administrative assistant, Rachel Yanez, here to keep me honest. So, Family Crisis Center incorporated back in May of 1982, so we've been around a long time. And we've enjoyed a good relationship with the city of Alpine in that time. And we hope we always will. We serve victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and violent crime. That includes children, women, men, even pets, believe it or not. And because we do this, we have heard law enforcement say that we prevent murders, and I believe that to be true, because we have someone safe for the victims to go. And then we take and we try to help those victims learn how to take their life under control by not doing things for them, but showing them their options, letting them tell us what they would like to do, and then helping them to learn how to do that. Because if we do it for them, we're just taking over just like the perpetrator did, maybe in a nicer way, but still. And we've done that for a lot of people. If you can see by looking at your statistics, so far this year, it's already been almost 200 people that are brand new. That means they've not been a client of ours before. We have served a total of clients so far of 1,113. Doesn't sound like a lot until you think about how sparse the population is in the 5 counties that we serve. There's not that many people here, so that's a pretty good percentage. And there are a lot more out there that just haven't been able to get to us, and we keep hoping that we are finding ways to reach them. We are funded mainly by state and federal grants. We have HHSC, which is the Health and Human Services. They're our biggest funder. We have VOCA, which is Victim of Crime Act. It comes out of the state. I'm sure y'all heard of that. We have the Sexual Assault Prevention grant, which is also from the state, and the other Victims Assistance grant. And these are all varying amounts. Our HHSC went up a little bit this year, and our VOCA went up a good bit because the state had some extra funds to spread around, which is always a good thing. Now, that's great, but we never know year to year what's going to be cut, what's not going to be cut. We hope that it'll remain good, but we've seen it where it's, pretty well dried up. So we don't ever count our chickens because we know we've got to be there. We're the only services of our kind between here and Del Rio, between here and Midland, Odessa, and between here and El Paso. Those are some pretty big distances that people would have to cover, even if they could, which somebody out in Ruidoso or Candelaria probably not going to be able to. We make regular trips down there and hope, to take out fries or whatever, or take food baskets just to see if we can help people, because hunger has become a very big factor these days in the outlying counties and everywhere. So if we weren't there, they would not be able to get help at all. And I think I'll be surprised at how many people we actually do help. And a lot of the sexual assault victims are children, which kills me. That's why I'm not an advocate, that's why I'm a bookkeeper. I can't do it. But they're little children. And that's hard, but I thank God that we're here to help them and help their families. Domestic violence, we would hope to say that's going to go away. It's not going away. It's prevalent everywhere, and if you watch the news, as you all do, you know that. You may not hear as much about it here, but even Alpine and this area had more murders in the last couple of years than we've had in a very long time. Some of them have to do with domestic violence. Domestic violence doesn't just happen between a husband and a wife. It can be between roommates. It's anybody that cohabitates and lives together. So it can be between anybody. And we saw Ross here and college students. It's a problem. You guys know that. I don't really have to preach on that too. I could go on and on and on, but why don't I let y'all ask me what you'd like to know?
I can relate to your job, what y'all ladies do. I was in a drug program here, sponsoring and mentoring addicts, drug addicts. So it's not an easy task.
No.
And you can't be a codependent. And what you're doing is fantastic.
Thanks.
Because you're showing them the way how to get out of it. There is a cycle that can be broken. There's a codependency that cycle continues and will continue
Right.
from generation to generation. So I do applaud y'all for the fantastic work that y'all do. And I know that the city council as a whole will support your endeavors. So our relationship will always be there.
I appreciate that very much. I appreciate what y'all have done in the years past and hopefully in the years to come.
I think
If you ever have an extra 500,000 laying around, well,
After we get done.
I'll accept that.
yeah, because you never know when it's going to happen to one of your family members or a friend. This is something that just happens.
Well, I
So-
myself am from a family violence. So, yeah, it does. And here's a little fact that some of you may know and some of you may not, but at least with domestic violence, it's going to take the average woman, let's say, because it most often is, let's be honest. It'll take her leaving 7 to 9 times before she either leaves for good or she's killed. That's it. That's the way it works. So, it's hard when you say, well, why do you have so many coming back? Well, that's fine. It takes a long time for them to understand that this is not the way things are supposed to work and that they deserve better than this and that there are other ways. It takes them a long time because normally they have come from families with domestic violence and it's what love looks like to them. They don't know that it shouldn't hurt. So
Do you see numbers come up during the holidays?
we do. And anytime like with the oil business going down, anytime there's a money crunch, you don't necessarily see it in December, you're going to see it in January and those bills start coming in. That's when you're going to see a little bit of rise in the numbers.
How's your volunteer base? Are you able to grow the volunteer base, or is it steady?
Well, I'll be honest with you, we haven't really been able to grow it. It's statewide, worldwide. Volunteerism is a disappearing thing. And it's sad. And we try, and we've kept some volunteers for a long time, and we're always out there pushing and trying. But let me tell you a little thing that kind of surprises me. One of the places that we got some of our volunteers was community service workers, right? Well, now they can write, it's almost $300. They can write a check and not have to do that. And that's what most of them are doing. Now, I don't mind taking the money, but I'm just saying that should be an indication. And it is an indication of how things are going. People just don't volunteer like they used to. They don't raise their children to volunteer. So, you know, we've got to make that push. Alpine is still a good little town. All these little towns, we still have more volunteerism, I think, than a lot, but be aware that it's kind of a vanishing thing, and let's push it for all of our nonprofits, not just us. We all need it. We can't do it without volunteers.
Have you all reached out to any of the organizations in the city?
Oh, sure. We reach out all the time, but you have to understand we've got a 5-county area that encompasses about 26,000 square miles, and we have 10 people covering, 10 people in 3 offices covering that. We've got 1 person in Terlingua at our outreach office. We have 3 people at our shelter and office in Presidio, and the rest of us are here in Alpine. That's all. That's it, and that includes the administrative staff. So it's, you know, it's a hard juggling match to figure out how we're going to do outreach, how we're going to be here for the clients, how we're going to make this meeting, which all of these things are important. But we're spread thin, and you guys all know that the biggest item in your budget is always salaries. So we can hire more people, but you know, you want to keep there a pool of money that is going to be available if something does happen. And that's why the city and county money is so critical. It's money, first of all, that don't have strings attached like grants. It's also a way of showing our funders that you guys back us, that our communities are with us, and that they think we are worth funding. That's a very important piece of the puzzle, because if they don't think that our communities are behind us, why should they fund us? So that's kind of it in a nutshell, guys.
So you don't see increasing your employment in the future?
We actually have increased it a little bit, and we may, but it's just going to really depend on, you know, our grant cycles are on a biennium, so we've had a good biennium right now, but the next one's coming up and we don't know what that's gonna be. So we always have to kind of keep it close to our bed, you know, just make sure we have money to keep continuing doing what we're doing. So we may not, just depends. Anything else?
Any more questions, anybody?
Well, I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and thank y'all for the work y'all do.
Thank you. We're there if you need us.
Okay, thank you.
Next week, are you here for each other? Okay, thank you, Sam. Come on up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sandy Wilson. I'm the president of the Children's Advocacy Center here, located here in Alpine. I would have had a little presentation for you, but y'all's great rainstorm knocked out our electricity in Marathon. And when I got home from court, I had no electricity to type, so I have a few little scribbled notes here. This advocacy center has been here for years now. What the basic premise of this is, we help children who are sexually assaulted or violently assaulted, mainly sexual assault from 2 to 17. We help those kids by doing what they call forensic interviews of them. And that's where you take them into a safe, secure, private location, and you try to get the information from them about what happened in an age-appropriate setting that makes them feel comfortable. And Shanna Sullivan has been our forensic interviewer for years now. She does a great job. She does really well in court. She knows what to do. She keeps up. She's actually in the training now, getting on a plane coming home. That's why I'm here instead of her. She's better at this. This Children's Advocacy Center, a little background information, it is also a nonprofit. There are 69 statewide centers here in Texas. They serve 188 counties. They don't serve all of them, but they serve 97% of the population. And what they deal with, for example, last year, they took in over 40,000 cases of kids that were sexually assaulted. 71% involved in sexual abuse. They came to the sexual abuse centers. 95% of these people that are assaulted, these children, know their perpetrator. That's a high number. And to go with what the lady ahead of me said, 25% of these children that are sexually assaulted are not even in kindergarten yet. So it's very important that we keep this program, because if we're limited to the 188 counties, it really helps us when we get to court and can prosecute these perpetrators, because they do what they call an outcry statement. I'm only telling you this because I've done it before as a lawyer. They do an outcry statement where they talk to a person about it, and then they come to our center here, and it's really set up nice. Anybody that wants to come to it, you're more than welcome. And they will meet there with the parent or whoever, and they will have an interview with Shanna Sullivan in a room, and then the officers are in another room where the kids don't know they're there, but they're able to do these interviews. And these interviews are very important because sometimes these kids can't get on the stand to testify because they're too scared or they're too little. And these are one of the hearsay exception outcry statements. If you make these and you have this forensic interview, you can play this to the jury without the child having to be present. And that makes a big difference as far as getting these cases prosecuted. Because when you have at least 25% of them not even in kindergarten, you have little kids that can't articulate what they need to articulate to get what, is taken care of to get these cases prosecuted. We maintain a good relationship with the city as well. I believe we get around $5,000 a year. What we do with that is we use that to help match our VOCA grants and our other grants coming from the CAC of Texas. And we spend roughly $5,000 a year training our officers, basically our local officers here. We just sent Daryl Lasoya to a school to help out, because it's critical that these officers investigate these cases right so that we can get them prosecuted. Because you've got to start from the time you get the call you know, as you get there. So we reach out and help train the officers as they need to make sure that whenever we go to court, these forensic interviews are solid, good evidence that will put the perpetrator away. And that's the basic premise of the Children's Advocacy Center. Any questions?
Where's your center located?
I knew you were going to ask that. It's in my phone. It's off. It's in my phone. Can I get back to you with that? We moved from Nation Street over to, we're kind of back in a new area there, and it's very nondescript. You would not know it's there, and that's for the safety of the children and the families that are going. We don't want to have a big sign out front, and then, you know, have them say, oh, well, I can come here and cause some trouble, you know, like that. And I apologize for that, and I was going to write it down. I was going to type it up, but I didn't get too far.
You said only me would ask that question.
Yeah, of course, of course. In our interviews, is they come in as we get the reports. Someone outcries, a child outcries. That's what we do. And Shanna Sullivan is certified to do forensic interviews on children from 2 to 17 years old. I know we had a case a couple of weeks ago about an elderly person, but we had to refer that case because that elderly person also was mentally disabled. And so we had to refer that to another agency that specializes in that particular, you know, situation because the person was nonverbal. But that's basically what we do is we do the children. And it's very big because we don't need these people running loose if we're not trained and we don't have the facility here to make sure these forensic interviews go. And I have been present for several of Shanna's forensic interviews and her testimony on stage, and she's pretty good. She's pretty darn good. So I like her when I'm prosecution. I don't like her so much as defense because she's really good at what she does. And I think we provide a very valuable service out here because these children are our future. And it's like the domestic abuse. These scars never go away for these kids. So if we can make sure that they feel safe enough to come out and get their forensic interview done correctly and get these perpetrators put away, I think we've done a good job.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, I'll add as well. Sandy mentioned Daryl Lasoya, Captain Lasoya's involvement. I think it's a good relationship. He's really our point person there. He's got a lot of tenure on the force. He's been doing this for a while. Shanna has been in her role for a great many years, and I think that consistency in this particular program is very beneficial. There's a high degree of confidentiality. They both know the community very well, know the people and the players in the community. I think Shanna has talked to me in the past. I think her toughest thing is that she's spread thin, and there's more cases than she certainly could handle in a yearly basis. But certainly they're doing very well. They work very well with RPD.
And no children should be having to go through this type of life. And I know there's a lot of retirees here in Alpine. I think we need to reach out to them also. They have the time, you know, most of them grandparents or grandkids have already grown up. Maybe we can reach out to them to kind of volunteer also, because what you do is just an awesome program for kids. You know, they are our future, and as a city manager, I've always talked about kids. You know, they're the priority. You know, they should be the priority of everyone here, not only in Alpine but throughout the United States, around the world too.
And we've got to keep them safe, and this is a good program that helps do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, we've got Don Wetterauer here in the library. Don, are you going to do the food pantry as well, or just Mary's going to? Oh, great. Last year you did both, remember?
No, Jim Moore.
Oh, Jim Moore, that's right. That's right.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and talk about the Alpine Public Library and give you a little bit of an update. And thank you for your continued support of the library. So 69 years ago, the El Progreso Club held a supper, and they invited people who were coming to bring a book. The 300 books they collected that night was the foundation for the collection of the Alpine Public Library, which was the first library in our Tri-County area. And then in 2012, we opened a new $1.4 million building over here on Avenue Street. I'd like to start out by giving you a few statistics about the library. The Texas State Library and Archive Commission sets our service population. They decide how many people we are supposed to be serving. They set that last year, 8,100 people. Currently, we have nearly 8,200 Brewster County residents registered at the library. And that's pretty significant to me because you'll find a lot of libraries that have a much smaller percentage of people in their service population that actually use the library. That includes, and since the beginning of the year, we had another 100 new accounts. We also had 90 tech share patrons, and we have 205 non-Brewster County members. Right now, we have about 25,000 items in the collection. Our circulation increased from 45,000 in 2014 to over 80,000 in 2015. We had 90,000 visits to our website in 2014, and in 2015 we had over 200,000 visits. In 2015, we had a total of 468 programs with attendance of over almost 6,000 people. 276 of those programs were for youth, and attendance of about 4,100. Reference transactions went from about 7,000 in 2014 to over 11,000 in 2015, keeping the front desk staff busy. The message here is that we continue to grow. I have to say that when we were thinking about relocating to the area some 15 years ago, one of the top 3 items on our list was a public library. We've been fortunate to always live in an area served by a good public library. And our first visit to Alpine included a stop at the Alpine Public Library. If we hadn't liked what we saw, we might have ended up living somewhere else. The budget for the library this year is $245,000. The city of Alpine supports the library with $40,000, or about 16% of our budget. We've been at this level since about 2007. Brewster County gives $20,000, or about 8% of it. The remaining 76% comes from fundraising activities, sales at the library, grants from private foundations, and contributions from individuals. Not only that, in addition to the money, individuals donated over 6,800 hours of volunteer time to help the library last year. Finally, I just want to say that a study by the Bureau of Business Research at UT, University of Texas in Austin, shows that libraries have a value 2 ways to a community. First is the value of the service we provide, the books, programs, that kind of thing. They estimate the value of Alpine Public Library services to our community about $530,000 a year. The second is the library as a business entity. The study estimated that as a business entity, Alpine Public Library gives about $500,000 of value to the community. So that's over $1 million a year that we provide to community services. In general, the study showed that in Texas, for every dollar spent on a public library, you get a $4.42 return. At a recent library conference, I heard a quote that I thought was appropriate. It goes like this: a bad library builds a collection, a good library builds service, and a great library builds community. I think we have a great library now, and I think we're helping build community. Thank you.
And you do have an awesome library here. Always good for
There's a great staff, and I just have to hold on. We have a great staff, and we have wonderful volunteers.
And I know I see Don every morning, 8 o'clock. He's already on the road to one of the libraries. So he's my neighbor across the street. But great job.
I'd like to mention too that where you put in the the second place second small libraries in the United States or something. Yeah, just
Runner-up best small library.
I mean that's significant. Runner-up the small libraries throughout the United States.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Great job.
Thanks. Thanks, Tom. We have Mary here. Pantry.
Hi, my name's Mary Roth. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the food pantry, and I was nominated to come, so bear with me. The food pantry of Alpine was organized in 2009 and has been serving folks in the northern Brewster County, Alpine and Marathon area monthly since its inception. The West Texas Food Bank is our supplier. We then purchase and distribute what we buy from them to our community. To explain our role, West Texas Food Bank is part of the Feeding America network. They are the wholesale distributor of commodities from the USDA, major manufacturers, retail chains, and local vendors to community food pantries. Then certified 5013C agencies like Food Pantry of Alpine act as retailers which deliver those goods to clients. Currently, we distribute commodities to about 160 families, or about 300 individuals. Each month at a cost of $900 per distribution. This calculates out to about $5.50 to purchase and distribute about 25 pounds of canned foods, breads, fresh produce, and meat for our family of 4. We purchase food locally from porters to augment what we buy through the West Texas Food Bank. Those figures include all of our food costs. We can also keep our costs down through food drives held by many local organizations and individuals. This year alone, we have received over 1,800 pounds of donated food. Our goal has been to have the ability to distribute more than once a month, and now that's a reality. Thanks to the generosity of the Presbyterian Church, we now have a space where we can remain set up and ready to distribute, a secure place to store our food and a community presence. The food pantry is currently located at 108 half South Neville Haynes Road, near Sol Ross. We distribute 5 times a month, and it took a little bit of getting used to for our clients, but now they have the opportunity to come at any time to one of those scheduled days. We now reach more of our community, and our numbers have increased accordingly. We are 100% volunteer staff and have 25 to 30 dedicated volunteers helping us at our monthly distributions. Our goal has always been to serve our community in need with more fresh food and those foods that will meet the special dietary requirements of some, such as low sodium, low sugar, and low fat foods. Also increasing the numbers of families we are able to reach has increased our monthly costs. We hope to have the continued support of the City of Alpine to help us in our important mission to supply food to and serve those in our community.
Thank you. And now you know that some of your tax dollars go to some very worthy causes, and such as the food pantry, because no one should go home hungry. And y'all do a tremendous job. I've gone there a couple of times, relocated with 90, helped out a little bit.
Yeah.
And great volunteers that are out there. So my hat's off to them. Thank you.
We actually have had people call the number saying, hey, I missed a distribution, I can't wait until the next. And we have people who are able to go and help them. So
You also helped what the hybrids here.
I believe so.
Are you still doing that? Because I know you were at one time. Yes, I know y'all were doing that, and kids up there. What you do is still awesome. Y'all would be applauded for that. Yes, ma'am.
The food pantry and the Presbyterian Church also cooperate with the Alpine Police Department, and we are often called on for emergency baskets. Sometimes at midnight. I try not to go there at midnight, but we are sometimes, and so there's a lot of cooperation between different organizations in Alpine that benefits everybody. But it's through the food pantry that we're.
I'm glad you brought that up, because not too many people are aware that the police department does. They're the first ones on the scene and know what's going on. So
Right.
yeah, that's a great cooperation between
And
the two
it's through the
agencies.
Ministerial Alliance as well, because we are sometimes providing hotel rooms, and those people that have no place to go also have no food. And so we are also cooperating through the food pantry to help get them food on an emergency basis.
Very good. Thank you, Joe. Let's give them a applause. And I don't think there's any doubt that the city will be supporting these organizations because they are a vital asset to the city. And so I think all of us should keep that in mind. And if you have a chance, try to volunteer out there and help them out just a couple hours, whatever it takes, once a week or as many times as you can, because they do a tremendous job here in the city. So let's keep that in mind. We got a lot of retirees here again, and I think those are worthy causes that we should help out in. Thank you all very much. Anything else? Okay, we're going to move on to the action items now. Action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of thanks, including where funds are coming from, with applicable action items limit up to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment, limit to 3 minutes. After being called by the mayor, citizens are required to state their name and the ward to which they reside. Priority will be given to the citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own business or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak if there's time available. Is there anyone before the mic? No one? Okay, discuss and consider approving second reading of ordinance 2016-0801 to approve AEP rezoning as per recommendations by Planning and Zoning Commission concerning zoning change request by the owner, Reba Cross Seals, from C2 to M1 for expansion of an existing substation. Agent is AEP Texas. Robert Signs property identification. Street address is 8th Street between West Murphy and West Avenue F, Alpine, Texas. And the legal description is lot 34, portion of 5, block 57, original town site of Alpine. City Manager's in.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, this is the second reading of this particular ordinance. In your packet, I did include in the write-up that I did have one citizen approach me from the point of public hearing, first reading, just asking for clarification on any noise implications. Shared with them Fred Hernandez's response at the public hearing, as well as the response from the P&Z meeting where the engineer providing oversight of the project had responded to that same question. So they were satisfied and no further questions. On the item, under the motion, I do need to apologize. I had the same typo issue, but we do need it made as lot not 3, not 34, but lot 3.
Lot 3.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
So the correction is lot 3 and portion of 5, block 57, correct?
Yes, sir.
We'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the second reading of ordinance 2016-08-01 to approve the AEP zoning as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, as included in our package with the amendment that it says lot 3, portion of lot 5, block 57.
Is there a second? Second, it's been, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, discuss and consider approval of sublease of hangar 27 and 24 at the Alpine Casparis Municipal Airport, as recommended by the Airport Advisory Board. Both hangars are owned by Catherine Parker. City Manager Zimmer.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, I provided the information in your packet. Airport Advisory Board has reviewed this a little over a year ago. We changed from old lease language to new lease language. Had the tenant been in the new lease language, this particular action item would not have been necessitated, but because they still want to stay on the old lease, which is their discretion, any subleasing of the space does require council approval. Airport Advisory Board has recommended for council to approve it. I have had no objections from any tenants or any people in the community to the subleasing of that property.
I should entertain the motion. Yes, sir.
If anybody can't hear me, raise your hand. I was told that I don't speak far enough away or project my voice. First time I heard that in 70 years. But anyway, how many hangars does this lady own? When I was on the airport board, I understood that she had several hangars.
She's here this evening. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly how many spaces she's leasing. We have multiple tenants out there that have multiple spaces. I wish we could get them all to build another one.
No, I'm just concerned that I understood that this lady had several spaces and doesn't have any airplanes. Is that true?
As far as how many airplanes she has, I don't know off the top of my head.
It seems to me if you've got a bunch of spaces and you have no airplane, you're actually conducting a business out there.
Some folks are, yes.
And I got a little heartburn with that. I mean, when Mayor Johnson had a little bit of met a couple of clients at City Hall for his engraving business, everybody went ballistic that that he was conducting business on city property. It's the same thing as far as I can see. We get 10 cents a square foot per year on these things, and people sublease these things out for thousands of dollars. I got a little problem for that,
So just to continue the discussion, so the city provides leasing of the land. It does not do any capital improvements. So to get anything value out of it, you actually have to make an investment. And I know these two hangars are full of airplanes. And so while she may have, or the owners may have places where they have a lease that goes back, these leases can be as long as 30 years. They made a capital investment. So they're not getting any great value from the city per se. They've had to put their own money in to be able to get that value back out for us.
And we don't feel that we should be entitled to some of that profit.
Well, we charge taxes, so we get a property tax for the value of whatever property out there. So let's say there's a $100,000 hangar out there, we get the same value out of that as if it's a house. It's $100,000 that the city owns none of. And yet we're still getting the tax base out of that. So my view is, I'd love to see more people go out there, because the more that goes out there, the city gets not only the value, and frankly, the lease value as well. The tax base is significantly greater than what we get as a city. So,
see, that's understanding that I didn't have in Ted. You have a hangar out there and you have a plane out there.
yes.
But I have neither. I'm just looking at it from the economic perspective. I'm a bean counter,
If people put new hangars in there, they put $150,000 into that investment. It's fair if you make a $150,000 investment, you're going to get a return on it.
I'll buy that. Okay.
And we really want, if they are leasing the space out, we do want them to be working with active clients out there that are buying fuel from us.
Okay, yes.
You've got some tenants out there that aren't really using their hangars, and we need them to buy fuel. We need aircraft coming in and out buying fuel.
Well, as long as they aren't doing business and they're buying things later. Because I know there's at least one person out there that stores construction equipment in his hangar. I mean, that's why. Yeah. Because you have to have regulations, as I recall, so it has to be aeronautically related. And tractors aren't aeronautically related. So I was just wondering what, a little bit more clarification. Thank you. I'm glad you clarified it. Yeah, come through it.
I move that we approve the change in the sublease for 27.
I second.
Second, then motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, item 10. City manager.
Mayor, City Council, every year, we do have an established investment policy. Every year, our auditor is asked to ensure that all City Council members have reviewed the policy. If we want to make any significant changes, that we would update or change our investment policy. Last year, on the August 4th, 2015 meeting. We reviewed it. Certainly, we're not using dollars for any investment purposes. I mean, we have, Texas Class Fund, but, we're not sitting on $2 or $3 or $4 million that we're investing. So with that being said, the existing investment policy seems to be a good form. The auditor would like to make sure that the council has reviewed it every year and resolved that they've read it. So that's why this item is on the agenda.
Yeah, we gotta have an investment policy. Not law. Yeah. Would that we had a couple $1 million to put in there, but we don't. But, yeah, I've read it too.
So is that a motion?
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear a call for a motion.
No, yeah.
I'm just
Call for a motion.
I move that we pass the resolution to accept the City of Alpine investment policy as presented to us.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 11.
Honorable Mayor, City Council is discussing consider recommendation on general ledger cleanup line items related to the City of Alpine financial record keeping. City of Alpine converted from the old Deering software to the Hill Country software July of 2013. At that juncture, with any software conversion, we set up certain line items historically that were used to help accelerate your conversion. When you go from one software to the next, you want the boxes to match up. You want the nomenclature to match up. As we move forward, certainly we changed, the city manager, we changed, our finance leader. All of those things, we, taken some of the items that were historically used and we just don't use them. And what happens is then you get these financial reports that you have a bunch of zeros on because you don't use them. And so what we're really looking to do is clean this up. And the reason why it's on the agenda for tonight is prior to handing over the proposed budget for next fiscal year, Megan and I would like to have these items cleaned out so that we don't have to go through a budget amendment in order to do that. So certainly by cleaning this up, it will help us through the August 4th workshop and then the ensuing proposed budget that'll come the following week. Megan did an excellent job, as always, at depicting, showing the action that she wants to take, the reason why she wants to take it. And so, if you have any questions, be glad to field those.
So Jim,
I just want everybody to realize that, at one time I was the director of conversions at Southwestern States Bank Card Association in Dallas. Every conversion is going to have this kind of thing. It just goes along with the territory. And every conversion is going to have some problems. I've spent many nights on the floor of my office with my team doing conversions over a weekend. And you're going to have to do some cleanup work afterwards. I think Megan has done a heck of a job putting all this thing together.
pretty much just the house clean. Yes, sir. Okay. I'll entertain a motion then.
I move that we accept the recommendation on the general ledger cleanup on the line items relating to the City of Alpine financial record keeping.
There's a second.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Council members, any comments?
I want to thank all of our volunteers that help the Crisis Center and Children's Advocacy and Dawn with our library and pantries. I think that's important that we stick together as a team to make things happen for our community. And thank you for all being here with us tonight.
I want to thank everybody for being here and excellent presentations by all of those people. I especially want to thank my constituents, there's 7 of my constituents out there. I think that's really amazing. We've got a good participating board.
And that's good. And I urge the city council to, get out there amongst the constituents. I know I get around town a lot and meet people, but I think we all should do that and what we constituents are. I know kids drives around doing the same thing, so I think you're doing a great job, and it shows by the folks that are in here. Great job. Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then. Second. Available. All those in favor of it, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Have a good evening.
Always right here.
Huh?